Inside Huntsville with Brenda Martin, a conversation with department heads at City Hall on streets, ball fields, public safety, and more. And also with our community partners that add economic security, support education, and enhance the city's quality of life.
Hello, I'm Brenda Martin, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Inside Huntsville. Mrs. Lineise Arnold is the director of North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless, Inc. NACH, as they are often called, do a tremendous job working with the homeless in our community. In fact, the president of the City Council, Jeannie Robinson, praised the agency at their local meeting recently. Mrs. Arnold, I am so glad that you took time to come today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, for those who are not familiar with the agency, tell us what your mission is.
Okay, our mission is to educate the community on homelessness and to increase collaboration among agency partners so we can be more effective in providing homeless services throughout North Alabama.
So you work with the many providers in the area. And what's important about collaborating with your partners?
Well, in today's time, with there being cuts in budget funding, cuts in grants, we want to partner with resources, so therefore we can be more effective and pull our resources together so we can meet a greater need.
Okay, well, you know, it's pretty cold outside these days, and with temperatures reaching freezing and below freezing, how do you go about helping those that are in need?
Okay, so we have some great community partners. We work with the local missions, and they have special admission policies during the cold months of 40 degrees and below. The Downtown Rescue Mission has a flexible admission policy. They do require that you have a state issue ID, but if a person has not been permanently banned, they offer a flexible admission, as well as the Salvation Army. In the event that we get to 32 degrees and below, the Grateful Life Community Church opens up an emergency warming center. And the Grateful Life Community Church is a congregation of about 75% of persons that are either currently experiencing homelessness or were formerly homeless. Mm-hmm. And the Grateful Life Warming Center came in effect by people that were previously homeless wanting to reach out and give back to their fellow members that were still experiencing that circumstance.
Now, where is that located?
Located over on Meridian, Oakwood in Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about helping those in need, what is the best approach to help individuals in the community should take when they want to help the homeless? You know, because oftentimes you'll see people and you just kind of want to help them in any way.
Right. So the best approach for the community is to direct the individual to appropriate resources. Oftentimes,
what do you mean by that now?
Oftentimes we see people that are out there with signs, "We'll work for food," or "I'm hungry," and your heart pulls on you. You want to actually give them money, but giving them money is not the best option because that's just a temporary fix. If you direct them to the resources, then a needs assessment can be done, such as direct them to the satellite office at the Huntsville Main Public Library, which is open Monday through Thursdays from 9 to 1.
Now that's new, isn't it?
Yes, that's the NACH satellite office. We've been in existence for about 18 months now, and that's the location that people can receive walk-up services. They actually are directed to our location. We do a needs assessment, try to partner them with agency providers that may be able to meet that need, but we also are prepared for emergency cold weather. We give out blankets, scarves, hot hands, canned heat. We give them food and water, try to make sure that they have the appropriate amount of nourishment for these cold times. We also provide education to them on how to be safe in these conditions, such as how to avoid hypothermia.
Mm-hmm. So panhandling, as it's referred to, is not something that you suggest we do as a community then, or as an individual?
Correct, because if you give a person some funding, they may be able to secure a hotel for one night, but then the next night without your help, they're still in a homeless situation.
Okay.
So it's best to actually support the agencies that partner together to try to come up with a sustainable option for the person that would be more beneficial, a little bit more long-term, to try to help them reach self-sufficiency.
And that's a good point. You talk about agencies. How would one find out what agencies are in fact legitimate and helping?
Okay, so one of the things that I always suggest people do is to do your research. Look up the agencies that you're interested in supporting online, as well as you can go to www.natchcares.org, and that's the NACH website, and it has a list of our agency partners. But I recommend that people actually go to the agencies and talk to some of the clients that they are trying to help. Try to
Okay.
see what their response is. Check what the agency's admission policies is to see if they may rule out a certain population that you want to support. So I always tell people to don't just mail a check, but get involved and go out and seek information about how your money is being utilized, and is it being utilized in the way that you intend it to be utilized.
Okay, good point. What's a phone number that people can contact you at?
Okay, the phone number to our administrative office is 256-261-3026, and that's my direct number.
Okay, and the website again is?
www.natchcares.org. That's NACHCARES.
Okay, now, thank you for that. Now, while there are families working hard to transition from homelessness, I'm sure it's not easy. What might be some of the barriers for success for some of these families? Because I know they don't want to stay in this spot.
Okay. Some of the barriers that we see currently is the lack of affordable housing, as well as just the lack of the initial support for resources. At NACH, we do provide some utility deposit assistance, but what we're finding is that some families that may be homeless previously may have had a previous utility bill that was outstanding, or may have a poor credit history with the utility company. So therefore, when they try to retransition back into housing, their deposits are inflated. It's based on their credit history. So where the average person only has to come up with $370, this person who is already struggling to get reestablished is sometimes asked to come up with a $700 deposit before they can get their utilities on. So that is a big barrier that we're seeing for families to be able to be transitioned from homelessness to rehousing.
So you're saying that, so what effect does the HUD regulations have on our homeless?
Okay, so our guidelines are specific to try to meet the person with the most need, okay? So the HUD guidelines believes in housing first, which means that you provide housing and then you provide the wraparound support services for the clients, because they believe that a client can obtain self-sufficiency and stability if you provide them in housing and then provide them the supports. Because if they have an issue with mental health, then if they don't have a stable housing, that's just going to increase their anxieties, it's going to increase their symptoms of their mental health, and those type of things. So unfortunately, when we have smaller communities such as Huntsville that have smaller homeless populations, we don't always have the financial resources to provide those supports that other areas are, such as we may not have the ability to get all our clients seen at our local mental health center because they don't have funding, and they only have a certain amount of funding that they can see indigent clients up under. So therefore, our clients, their initial screening may cost $35. Well, $35 to a person that is homeless is a lot of money. So a lot of our clients are going untreated because they do not have the financial resources to receive the help for their mental health symptoms. Or some of our clients that may possibly be experiencing a substance abuse disorder are not able to get the treatment that they need because there are not enough indigent placements that provide treatment.
Well, so what do you do? I mean,
So what we do is we try to continue to advocate. We try to continue to talk to our state legislators about increasing funding for our mental health services. We try to form coalitions such as the jail diversion program that Commissioner Bob Harrison has put into place here to try to avoid people that may be experiencing mental health from going to our local jails and actually getting that person the treatment that they need to avoid them being in an incarcerated situation. So as an advocate or as a citizen, just contact your congressman and ask them to put more service, more financial support in programs such as our mental health program, so we can get the treatment for our clients to help them transition and be successful, because a lot of our clients are experiencing mental health diagnoses. We have a lot of veterans that are PTSD related, and even some of our people that may have substance abuse disorders. The initial trigger is either a mental health issue, or it may have been a traumatic experience that may have led to the substance abuse being used in the first place.
Do you have any idea how many homeless people we have in this community?
Okay, so in North Alabama, our last PIT, which is our point in time count that we do annually every year in January, our numbers were about 268 for North Alabama total, with about 186 of those individuals being here in Huntsville. And when I say about 186 people in Huntsville, that included the individuals that were in our emergency shelters, the individuals that were on the streets in our camps, and some of the individuals that were in some of our transitional housing programs, such as Lift Housing, which is an emergency shelter now. So our street...
What about families?
Families.
That includes families
That does
as well?
include our family total, yes.
Okay.
We have two lodges, well, two homeless shelters that focuses on the family unit. One is the New Futures Family Lodge, and that is the program that a mother, father, and kids can actually stay intact. Another program is called Rye Rose Home for Children.
Oh, yes.
And that program focuses on single mothers with kids over the age of 12 that won't meet some of the other shelter criteria. Now, our third shelter is the Downtown Rescue Mission, which does have a specialized population shelter for mothers with kids.
Yes.
But that program, once the child reaches the age of 13 years old, they're no longer appropriate because of the number of adult women and teenagers and kids in the same facility.
Sure, sure. Well, what is the trend of emergency assistance requests during the months of December through, let's say, February, versus the limited available resources?
Okay, unfortunately, when we get to the period of maybe November or December, we're getting to a period where most of our grants have depleted their funds. And so the type of programs for rapid rehousing or prevention assistance, like community action that can go in and keep a person from being evicted, those programs are without funding. And unfortunately, we have to wait until those grants are renewed, and sometimes it's April in the next year. So our cold winter months are times where we see where people are seeking the most assistance, but we have the least resources during that time. Unfortunately, there are other things that are factors in the winter months, higher utility bills, which means that it takes funding away from where a person may have been able to pay their mortgage. They're trying to pay the utility bill, so which makes them short on their mortgage.
Sure.
So therefore, they're facing eviction, and there's always the situation with Christmas. If you have kids in Christmas, you may not have been able to get to one of the resources that have support for presents and gifts. And sometimes we find that families do take monies that are identified for bills and they provide Christmas. And so therefore, in the month of January, we see an increase in calls from our community for people that are needing financial assistance to avoid eviction or financial assistance to help with utilities because they may be short based on the bills that occurred in December.
So what do we do?
So direct those individuals to
the legislators, or?
That's correct. Direct those individuals to the legislator. Refer them to our office. We try to find additional resources. That is a time that we really depend on our faith-based community to get involved. But when our faith-based community gets involved, we want them to be a part of the NACH network, because we also want to make sure that the faith-based community funds are being utilized in the appropriate way.
In the appropriate way.
So therefore, we're trying to avoid that one church may be helping us a family one week, and then another church may be helping that same family on the next week, which is not sustainable, okay? So when we look at whether a family is going to be sustainable, we need to know that that family has an income to maintain once that assistance is provided. Because unless you're able to provide long-term assistance for that family's rent or that hotel stay, then that's a waste of money, because they're going to end up being in a homeless situation anyway. So we need to make sure that we're getting them linked up with a shelter so they can actually get some kind of services to where they can prepare to be able to earn an income and save some money to be able to sustain, versus just every week a different church actually paying a hotel voucher.
And there is a way or an avenue, if you will, that you check to make sure that no one's abusing the system.
Okay, so with the North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless, we have a system called Service Point, and that system allows us to track all of the individuals that are receiving any kind of financial assistance from one of our individuals that receive, one of our agencies that receive either Emergency Solution Grants funding or HUD funding.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our faith-based community is not involved in that system.
That's where I was going
So
with that
therefore, we
question.
need our faith-based community to be involved. So therefore, they will have access to the same database that we're utilizing, and they can pull up that client to see if they may have received utility assistance from one of the agencies last month,
Exactly.
and then they're asking for utility assistance from your agency on this month.
So how do they get involved?
Becoming a member of the North Alabama Coalition
Okay,
of the Homeless.
as simple as that.
It's simple as that. It's simple as
Exactly.
that.
Okay. Well, let's hope we can spread that word and let them know. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I appreciate you taking the time to come in today and talk with us. This is a topic that tugs at your heart. You know, when you see homeless people on the street, it's you just have, it tugs at your heart, period. And you have a tendency to want to go in your pocket and just say and give it to them. But we know that that's certainly not the correct way of handling this. You do a tremendous job in this community, and I know it's one that you're constantly. It's something that, you know, we wish that we certainly would get to a point where we no longer have the homeless. But thank goodness that you're there, you and your agency and the other partners are there in this community to help those individuals. Again, I thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Well, that's my show for today. I appreciate you joining me for another episode of Inside Huntsville. I'm Brenda Martin. Have a great day.